happiness and joy it brings me, like, it is the place where I'm smiling the most. Landing a new trick for the first time, I don't think there's any better feeling I could describe in the world. I get doing well at an event or feeling like you put down the run you wanted to, like you cannot wipe the smile off your face. Like it brings a different type of happiness I honestly don't know how to get anywhere else. Like I feel like I'm almost on some sort of high when I'm skiing and have those good days. Like it's not every day that I'm skiing, it's like the best day ever by any means, but those like amazing days, they just kind of trump everything else. And when I look back at like my memories in the last like 5 to 10 years, most of them are all skiing. Like they're traveling when I'm skiing, they're when I'm with ski people, they're those amazing ski days that I've had and like the experience that I've had with skiing. So it's kind of like a part of me. I visualize quite a lot. So I would say I start by visualizing going off the jump like in first person point of view, and then the beginning of the trick, I'm in first person, and then I like go to third person and like see myself do the trick, and then I feel myself land. Because a lot of times that middle part when you're in the air doing your trick, I feel like I black out. Like I don't know what's going on at that point. I remember taking off and what I'm thinking of. I remember looking for the landing and what I'm thinking of, but middle of the air, I don't know where my mind goes. No, I'm nervous every time I hit a new big jump. Like that first time you're hitting it, like you're for sure scared because all jumps are a little bit different. Some may be a little bit kickier, some may be a little bit flatter, some are bigger, some are smaller than others. So kind of every time I stand at the top and see the jump, I'm like, okay, here we go. I don't remember a time when I wasn't skiing. I feel like one of the big memories that is always caught in my mind is I joined the Freestyle Club when I was 6, and I have an older brother who's 2 years older than me. And probably around the age of 7, I skied up with his group that day, and they were all hitting a medium jump. And I kind of had the mindset, well, if my brother can do it, I can. And I was quite a small kid, so I go in, hit this medium jump because I thought I could. Fully case, like don't make the landing at all, double eject, hit my nose, get my first nosebleed I've ever had, but I was still smiling on my face because I actually did it. So that was probably one of my first memories of like in the park trying something that was a little scary, but I just wanted to do it.
180 off the top table, coming and switch into the box.
All right, give it up for guys.
Honestly, since I was a young child, I kind of always knew I wanted to be an Olympic skier. Like there's kids that want to be doctors, they want to be teachers. My thing was always skiing, and I feel like grade 6, which is quite a young age, I think I was 11, I did this whole project on like how I wanted to be a skier, and like that was my life plan and everything. And I think people kind of find you ridiculous being like, oh, I'm going to want to be an Olympic athlete, and they're like, oh, that's not going to happen. But in my case, I stuck to it and kept going, and then when I was 12, I made the provincial team. And you don't really like grasp that you're like moving so far so quickly when you're at a young age. And then when I was 15, I made the Canadian national team as well. So I was again just quite so young, and I was very good at a young age, obviously, to make it to the team. And then when I was 15, I think it set in a lot more because the year, when I turned 16, it was 2018, so it was the year of the Olympics. And about like 2 months before the Olympics, I realized that I could actually make it. Like it wasn't a thought, like I was like, oh, I made the team, but I didn't think I was like at that level quite yet till I made it to the Olympics. But I ended up being one spot out, and it just kind of grew my drive for wanting to go to the next ones. So when I want to say about like 12 would have been the first time I started flying alone. So I would go on ski trips and go to training camps and be alone without parents. So I would have to cook my own food a lot of the time and kind of grow up pretty quickly at a young age. And then I I think you enter high school when you're 13 or 14, and that's when it started taking over my life even more. I would be missing a lot of school. I still went to normal high school, but I was very lucky to have teachers that were okay with me leaving pretty consistently. And probably like grade 8, grade 9, I missed a solid chunk of school, and then grade 10, I missed like more than half the years if I were to go to my absent days, because it was just skiing, home for 2 weeks, skiing, home for a week, skiing for 3 weeks, home for a week. So it was just kind of like my whole life was skiing and traveling and training, and that's just what I came accustomed to for so long. Like, it was almost weird for when I was home for a long period of time. And I was like, this is strange. Why am I not like going out? Why am I not skiing right now? So it's just something that I've always known. So it hasn't been like strange for it to be my whole life. It's just like skiing has always just been a part of me, I would say. And then I decided to graduate high school a year early just so I could not have to worry about that stress of school and just be able to fully focus on skiing, training, and traveling.
So so you didn't have any problem how was like navigating at such a young age between like high school studies and doing this? Was it like fine for you, or?
It was hard because I was like one of my only friends that was doing this. So when you're that age, you really, like, I had big FOMO, so fear of missing out. So my friends doing like things and hang out with each other, and then feeling like I was drifting away from them because I was always away. But then I would look at the big picture and I'm like, I'm in New Zealand, they're going to school 5 days a week. Like, what am I missing? Right? Like, I think any of them would pick to be in my shoes and get to travel and experience what I got to experience at such a young age, which was awesome. But it was like quite different. But again, it was just what I was used to. So I was able to adapt, and the more I started training and missing school, the more that it became normal to me.
Walk us through a little bit of your daily life. So you're in Calgary to train. Do you train by yourself? What's your program like? What's between skiing, the gym? Do you train with other people from Team Canada with sport? Like, what is like today's your training and prep and?
So when I'm in competition skiing and training, my kind of day-to-day life looks like when I'm home in Calgary, I'll be in the gym. I try and go 5 days a week. I'm like Monday to Friday with my trainer, just because it's so important to keep strength. And without it, like, you're at such a high risk of injury. And then I do train like up at COP. There is a few other my teammates that live in Calgary, and then I just started skiing halfpipe, like competing in halfpipe the last 2 years, and the whole Canadian halfpipe team bases out of Calgary, so there's people to kind of train with there as well to ski. And then I take like one university course online, so in my spare time I pick away at that. And then mostly like during competition season, it is like a lot of home for 2 weeks, away for 3, and in those 2 weeks it's just kind of catching up, letting your body relax, keeping your strength up, and doing like a little bit of training if you have time. But a lot of the time during competition season, I just take that time to relax, give my body a break, because it is a lot on your body, my sport, and sometimes you just need to rest it so it can be ready to go for the next event or the next training camp.
Okay. Do you have any things that you like to do to relax? Do you do any other hobbies, other sport, other things at all?
Yeah, so when I was younger, I played soccer for 10 years. That was my other love than skiing, but it was always skiing, and then there was soccer on the side for fun. And now that I'm a bit older, I really enjoy golfing in the summer. I think it's tons of fun. It works on just like mental strength, because golfing is so frustrating. I think it's one of the only sports where you can like have your best day out golfing one day, and then the next day you like forget how to play. And that's gets your mind going, so it just kind of helps with my mental strength. And then I also in the summer like mountain biking. It's pretty fun. It's good use of cardio, and it like gets you outdoors. I got into it with my dad during COVID because he's quite an avid mountain biker, so I enjoy doing that. And then other hobbies, I love hanging out in my bed. I know that shouldn't be a hobby, but it's just when you're on the road a lot skiing, it's just nice to like feel like you can relax and lay down and like just take a day for yourself and not do anything. And sometimes that's what you need.
Yeah.
First of all, like, did you have several injuries?
Yeah.
Or
We can go through my fun little injury process.
Yeah.
So My first injury wasn't a big one, was when back in 2017, I partially tore my meniscus and then I just had surgery. And at that time I was 15, I want to say. So I didn't quite do the correct recovery for it just because I wasn't like super big in the gym when I was 15. I did like a little bit of the work, but I was just like, oh, in 2 months I'll be fine, or 3 months and I'll be back skiing. And I was, and I like had knee pain, but it wasn't a huge issue. Like that injury for me wasn't anything too big. I had surgery at the end of the season. I wasn't really taken out of my sport for that long, so it wasn't a huge problem. My real injury started in 2019. So if we were to go like the last 4 years of my ski career life, 2018, I missed Olympics by one spot, and then the next year, 2018-19, I had a great season. I became like the big air world champion, which basically means that like all the World Cup events, I did the best overall and got this cool little crystal globe. I could show you after if you'd like. And then the summer following that, so summer 2019, I got a concussion. We take those like super seriously, as any sport should. You have to take the time off from symptoms and then do concussion testing to get back into your sport.
How did you do that?
I honestly got a concussion on the airbag, which is very rare because an airbag is supposed to be like a safe place for you to train. But there are times where if you stick a little bit more, you can just hit your head super hard. And you want to be careful because if you hit your head again after a concussion and like pretend that you don't, it can be so much worse. Like you don't want to mess with your brain and your head. So I had a concussion in the summer, came back like a month later. It wasn't too bad. And then first event of the season, so the 2019-2020 season, I dislocated my elbow. So that honestly was an injury I thought existed until I did it. And that was probably the most pain that I've ever been in my life. I didn't go into shock. I had my elbow dislocated for 2 hours before they were able to put it back in, and they had to put me out in the hospital for it. I was also in Italy, and everyone around me wasn't speaking English. So when you're hurt and you don't know what's going on and you have a whole bunch of people speaking to each other about you, but you don't know what they're saying, it kind of creates a new sense of panic that you didn't know existed.
Was it in a competition?
It was,
Okay.
yeah. So it was training for the first event of the year. It was in between. I made finals, I qualified, and then there was a training in between qualifiers and finals. And then it was during that time. I just had my arm out, and then there's actually a video of it, and you can see my arm go the other way. Like it does not look right. So after that, it only took like 2.5 months to recover. So I was back in January-ish, end of January. I did an event or two, and then March 2020 hit, and I think we all know what happened there. COVID, world shut down. It was a huge change for me because I went from traveling, training, skiing, never being home to being home for 8 months and not going anywhere. But it was adjustment for everyone, and I think you learned a lot about yourself in that time, and I did personally. And then I was finally able to get back on snow in November of 2020. I did a training camp up in the Yukon with my team.
So, sorry to cut you for a second.
Yeah.
So you spent 8 months
Not skiing.
not skiing.
Yeah.
So how was that for you?
Weird. Like completely, this was the longest time I'd ever been not skiing in my life. So I missed it a lot, but I mean, what's the saying where distance makes the heart grow fonder, right? Like you just want to get back to it as soon as you can.
Yeah.
So when we're finally able to travel, when it got a little bit safer and we could like go do a training camp with the team, we were in the Yukon, and it was the first day, and I was actually the only girl there on my team that day, which is surprising because usually there's 2 others that are on my team with me. But I was hesitant for sure because it's my first day skiing in like 8 months, and it was a decent sized jump. So I watched all the guys hit it before, and I was like, okay, I'm finally ready. So go in, hit the jump, and then just go like a little bit too big. And right away I felt something in my knee, and I was like, it's probably nothing. Like I won't make a big deal about it. Like I just need to take the rest of the night off. Woke up the next morning, couldn't straighten my knee, couldn't move. So went to the hospital, got checked out. They're like, okay, you need to like go get an MRI and an X-ray basically. And I was like, this isn't how I want to start my season.
That was literally on the
First day back skiing, first jump.
First jump. Oh.
Yeah, and this, like, keep in mind, So for my sport, Olympic qualifying starts 2 years in advance of Olympics. So I had the 2020, 2021 season qualify and the 2021, 2022 season to qualify. So most ideally in that first season, you compete well, you can like kind of secure your spot and then just spend the next year training without stress and then be ready to go for the Olympics when it comes. So that was like my ideal game plan. So I didn't want to start my season off with an injury. So I went home, got an MRI, and it takes like a little bit to hear back from it usually. And at that point, I was like walking quite a lot better and I was like, oh, it's probably nothing. Like, I'm all good. My doctor calls me, I partially tore my ACL and I tore my meniscus. So I had surgery just on my meniscus and we decided to like rehab and strengthen my ACL and not have surgery at this time because it would just take in so much longer. And at this point, I didn't have that time to do that. So I came back, I started skiing again in March, and I just spent the time in between December when I had surgery, I had it on like the 3rd, until March, just in the gym, strengthening as much as possible. And then March, I was finally able to be back skiing, and I was starting to feel good. And then beginning of April, I broke my wrist, which was just kind of my luck at that point. It was a bummer, but a broken wrist doesn't hurt, honestly. Went into shock, totally fine, had a cast, healed in 2 months. So I was able to be back for the summer and train all summer, stay healthy. And then in October 2021, it was like, this is the Olympic qualifying year. Like all the pressure, like I have to do well at these events if I want to be able to go, like make my dream that I've had ever since I was like 6 years old, right? So I was like quite nervous. And since I hadn't competed in over a year and a half, so before COVID, I think my last event was February 2020 and it was now end of October 2021. So it'd been quite a while off competing. I was like, I don't know if I'm good enough anymore, right? I called my parents, cried. I was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to make it. It's quite a panic for me. But anyway, I was like, okay, I just got to do what I can do and we'll see how it goes. I ended up qualifying 4th into finals and I podiumed at that event. I came 3rd, which was amazing. That kind of brought my confidence back after like dealing with a few injuries over the last few years. And I was like, okay, I can do it. Like, spending a year and a half not competing, the first event back, you podium, so amazing. And then next event, I came 4th, which was amazing as well. And I was like, okay, I can do it. And at like that point, I feel like I kind of knew that I had made the Olympic team, which was amazing because 2 months prior, I didn't even think I was going to make it. So I spent the next month or so just training like up to the Olympics. And it was like a big preference on Elena, like, don't get hurt before the Olympics. And I was like, yeah, of course, I'm good. So I was like, careful, train as much as you can because the Olympics isn't a place where you just like give it half, right? Like you want to give it your all, you want to do your best. So Olympic team was announced. I was so excited. I was like, dream come true. Got there, got to go to opening ceremonies, got to meet like other people. There's this big pin trading thing, got the Olympic suit, like amazing. Like feel like surreal. You'll like imagine it, how you like want to go to the Olympics and all the things you'll get to see and experience. Then when it's actually happening, you're like, no way, right? So I was supposed to compete in big air, slopestyle, and half pipe. So it was big air first, and then we go up to the slopestyle course, compete that, and then half pipe as well. So at the Olympics, big air training first 2 days went great, like smile on my face the entire time. The big air jump was amazing. I was starting to get my tricks. And then the last day, I was just like, okay, we need to lock these down, get the grabs as good as I can, landings as smooth as possible so I can like do well the next day for the event, right? So it was probably like in my last 5 jumps I was going to do, I was like, okay, let's just do this trick like 1 or 2 more times, see if I can get it clean so I'll be ready for tomorrow. Visualize it, weather's good, jump's great. Go in and then I fall, and I fall quite a lot, and I like to think like if you're not falling, you're not trying. But this one felt different. Like immediately it was like in pain. Next thing I knew, I'm surrounded by like 10 people that are just like, are you okay? Like first aid. I'm like, oh, I'm not. And I'm like deeply in pain. They like carry me off, go back to the village, take an ambulance, have to get an MRI that day, and then just have to like wait and see like, is it just swelling because it wants to play with me and it's a prank, or is something actually wrong? So I got the call that night and I ended up fully tearing my ACL and tearing my meniscus again. So at that point, I knew I wasn't going to be able to compete at the Olympics, which was pretty heartbreaking because before that, I was like, oh, I'd been through all these injuries and like, it's all okay. Like, it's all been worth it. I'm able to make it. Coming back, I'm seeing confident. And then just like the day before you're supposed to compete at the Olympics, you fall and you get taken out completely. it's quite heartbreaking.
Yeah, especially that close.
Mm-hmm.
What was the first thing that went through your mind? Like,
I feel like my first emotion was anger, honestly, because I'm just like annoyed again that like something happened. Like there's an injury again, no way. And then after that, you try to believe it's not true, right? Where I'm like, maybe it's not that bad. And then I would like try and limp walk as it like hurts so much. But I'm like, it's just like a little thing. Like it doesn't have to be like anything too serious, right? So I was just trying to stay like optimistic for a point because I wouldn't know until that night, and I didn't want to like build up in my head that it was something worse than it was. And then I feel like when I found out when my doctor called me that night, I was so sad. I cried like all night, of course. So it was like my dream that I had since I was so young, and then like day before not being able to actually get to compete. It was quite sad. So anyway, I came home from the Olympics, had surgery end of March, and now I'm like 11 months post-op and I'm doing good. Like I have a lot of strength back in my knee. I'm starting to get back into skiing. I am taking a bit of a slow recovery just because I've had a few injuries. Like this is my third knee surgery. I want to make sure when I come back, I'm like as strong as possible so I can be as preventive as possible for injuries in my sport, even though they still do happen. So doing good, and then hopefully this summer back training, and I'll still keep competing. This isn't the end of my journey by any means.
yeah, for sure.
And then still want to go to the next Olympics. And I couldn't imagine myself right now not skiing. At some point, like if I ever lose the love for the sport, or if it doesn't bring me the same sort of happiness, then I'll probably like kind of reevaluate where I'm at. But right now I still have that strong love, and that's what keeps my drive going, keeps my motivation. And if that stops, then I'll have to probably change what I'm doing. But right now it's still like on my mind. So many things in life you can't control. Basically, like the majority of things in life that you can't control. But what you can control is like how you react to things and like your mindset and what you want to do. I have advice that I always give younger skiers in my sport. But in general, I think it's just important to like stick with things. Like bumps will come in the road and you just need to stick with it. If that's like what you want to do, keep your mind to it as much as possible and keep working towards it. Like I had injuries, I got over them, and I was able to still make it to Olympics, and that was like one of my big dreams, right? Wasn't able to compete, but there's still a next one coming up. But just like keep working towards your dream, and it matters mostly like what you think.